Hello and welcome back to our Football Manager 2024 adventure with Ipswich on the 2024-25 season update for Football Manager 2024. And today it is another crunch episode with two massive games. We host both Everton and Leicester at Portman Road, trying to get our second and third wins of the season to keep us in this relegation battle. And it's a relegation battle that I'm surprised that there are so many clubs still in. You can see that even though we've only got 4 points after 11 games, remember we were targeting 10 points after 10 games, we are still in with a shout. Crystal Palace in 15th have only got 8 points, Forest have got 7, Everton 6, who we're playing today, Wolves with 6, and Bournemouth are off to an absolutely awful start with only a point. And in fact, they got that point against Arsenal and we're 2-0 up at half-time, so they will probably feel a little bit aggrieved that they didn't get anything there. And of course, Andone Iraola, no surprise, is under pressure to turn it round at the Vitality, because 1 point after 11 games, that is a slam dunk relegation straight away. And I'd have thought the same for Ipswich with 4 points. You've got to remember that our task, and we said this at the start of the season, was going to be made slightly easier by Forest getting deducted 4 points, Everton getting deducted 6 points, because if you think about it, take Everton and Forest out of the equation, Everton would have 12, they'd be with Leicester, and Forest would have 11, and again they're about the Leicester point. And all of a sudden 6 clubs becomes 4, and it's ourselves, Wolves, Palace and Bournemouth, and even Palace are 4 points above us on 8, so starting to become a little bit unattainable. But what's really helping us in this relegation battle at the moment is that the clubs around us keep drawing games. Wolves, of their 11 games, have drawn 6. They actually haven't won one yet, but they're good at keeping a point. Everton have drawn 3, Forest have drawn 5, and Palace have drawn 5. The lack of 3 points is really helping us to stay where we are. Obviously, Everton have won 3, and again, with that points deduction, it's a little bit skewed. But you can see that Leicester and Southampton are getting somewhere. The two clubs that came up with us, because Leicester have won 3 games, and Southampton have won 2. And a massive win for Leicester. A massive win in their last game against Newcastle at the King Power. Not just a win, a 4-1 victory. So it's going to be interesting in our game against Leicester today, because Leicester are a team that are in decent form. Their games are pretty much firecrackers. I mean, 2 each against Everton, 3-2 against Palace, 4-1 against Newcastle. They lost 4-1 against Liverpool, so that game will be a 0-0. Of course it will be. That is sod's law, really. But since you've last been with me, no surprise. Since the Southampton game, we have lost all 3 matches. Some encouraging signs, some not so encouraging signs. We went to Old Trafford and got absolutely battered. But we prodded the bear. We did what Ipswich did in real life against Man City, didn't we? George Hurst, after 18 minutes, silenced Old Trafford, and we went 1-0 up, and we were in dreamland. By half-time, Bruno Fernandes had got a hat-trick and we were 3-1 down, and United just kept pressing and pressing and won by 5-1. That was a complete peppering for us and not comfortable at all. So we shut up shop in the next match at Portman Road against Chelsea. Far more respectable result. Again, we weren't in the game. I think it's fair to say that Chelsea didn't have their best day at the office either. We restricted their chances. Raheem Sterling provided the assist for Enzo Fernandez to score their one and only goal. Not a great result and not a brilliant performance, but to only lose 1-0 in the grand scheme of goal difference is not a bad thing at all. We then got a televised game against Arsenal last Saturday at the Emirates, which started off pretty well and was a very similar vibe to the Manchester City game, the first game of the season. The first half we were outstanding. We limited Arsenal to chance. You can see, if you go to the XG match story, at half-time, Arsenal had only had, 0.18 XG at half-time. Then they scored pretty quickly, scored again, and scored again. And after the first goal, we tried to get into the game a little bit. The only reason why we conceded the first goal, and it might have actually been our only shot of the game, you know, it was the first time we'd come out, we'd brought men forward. I thought, well, this is a danger if this doesn't work. And of course, Arsenal went up the other end and scored. But then Harry Clark went and got himself sent off, which completely screwed us. And if we'd have lost against Arsenal 1-0, 2 big games losing only 1-0 would have done good things for our goal difference. You can see now that our goal difference is exactly the same as Bournemouth's at the bottom. And that gives all the other teams ahead of us, even Wolves with 11 minus goal difference. that gives all the teams above us effectively an extra point. So if we go and win against Everton today, we stay 17th. Forest, of course, are still going to be above us. So that is massive for us. But we've got Everton in today's first game. Let me remind you of what the games are. We've got Everton first, followed by a trip to Anfield. I'll either skip that one altogether or I'll just show highlights of that one. And then we host Leicester at the King Power before going into a more favourable December. None of the big clubs, the big six. You can see we've probably got chances in all of these games. You can go Newcastle's difficult, Villa's difficult, Fulham's difficult. We've got to play them all at some stage. And I feel like that game against Palace on Boxing Day could be a big one as well. Another one of our difficulties so far is that you can see that apart from that Charlton game, which I'm going to scrub out, I'm going to get rid of the friendlies and cup games. We've only scored 1 goal as a maximum in Premier League games. And of course, if you concede one, that means you're limited to a draw at the very most. And we're not creating chances, we're poor in attack, and ultimately that's putting a lot of pressure on our defence. Our attack is pretty appalling. I went through some interesting team stats, which I won't bore you with particularly, but I went through a lot of these in the last couple of matches, and I thought this just isn't working. And I do wonder, and I said this at the start of the season, whether we've got the players to compete in terms of the attacking prowess to compete in this Premier League season. Now, George Hurst has scored 3. Remember, 2 of those were in the Cup. Connor Chaplin scored 3, but Connor Chaplin, a player who hasn't scored a goal since that Brighton match at the start of September. In what? 3, 6, 7 games? 7 goals. 1 of them coming from a striker. Jack Taylor's winner. Of course, Jack Taylor playing in defensive midfield on that day. So a big worry for us. So a couple of players are going to get their last chance. We've got one more throw of the dice with another player, another young player who played in the Cup for Wimbledon, in Ipswich in real life against Wimbledon, I think, and did come on against Liverpool at half-time. But we're not going to use him today because he's not fully fit. If that doesn't work, we're going to have to go into the transfer market. We haven't got any money promised for us from the board yet, but I'll have to go to the board and say, we need this. We need to sign a striker who knows where the net is, or else we are going down. Goals win matches, and hopefully we can get that started today. Everton have scored 11 in this Premier League season, and their top goal scorers, not surprisingly, being Dominic Calvert-Lewin with 4 and Neil Mandindai with 3. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a man we've got to keep out in today's game. So we are in the 3 o'clock matches. Another big one at the bottom today, Wolves host Leicester. So if Wolves can get something out of that and we don't against Everton, the gulf gets huge then, because Forest have got West Ham at home. They could get something out of that. We'll see along with this match. Man City Arsenal being a 3 PM kickoff, that is bizarre to say the least. That should most certainly be a televised game rather than Fulham against Chelsea. But ho-hum. So I'm going to show you the team that we're going to be playing for today's game against Everton. So Muric starts in goal, not a surprise. We've also been plagued by injuries, which just doesn't help us at all. We've finally got Axel Tuanzebe back. Our third choice centre-half, Cameron Burgess, or is it Christian Burgess? Cameron Burgess has been off for a long while, so we needed Axel Tuanzebe. And not having a settled side, I think, hasn't helped at all either, particularly a settled defensive unit. Ben Johnson's had to play right back, had to play left back in Harry Clark's absence the other day, but we've put him back at right back today and put Jacob Greaves in at left back. We're going to experiment with Calvin Phillips as a defensive midfielder and as a ball-winning midfielder. I feel like logically in my mind, the defence is under too much pressure. So let's get a player, you can see he's a 4-star player in that position, so he knows it particularly well. Get the ball, recycle the ball, get it to our more creative players, the likes of Sammy Schmodics, and Cameron Humphreys is going to get a go as our most attacking midfielder today. You can see his average rating is above the best in the side. A young 20-year-old player who's a breakthrough prospect, and I see him doing good things for us. And if he can start playing well, then he might well be a member of the first team throughout the rest of this season, an important member of that team for us. We're going to give Amari Hutchinson another chance, but he's a player that just has not performed for us this year. You can see that a lot of the games he's come on as a substitute, so not really been given the biggest of chances. But ever since he got sent off against Man City, had 2 poor games against Brighton and Forest, and hasn't been used since. But Nathan Broadhead, our left winger, has managed to get himself injured, so needs must. Connor Chaplin plays on the left side, and we're going to play George Hurst up front. We need to get something out of this game, exactly like the match against Southampton in the last episode. I think if we don't get anything out of this, Leicester are in a decent position in terms of their form. So we need to get something out of this. We are going to point the finger and say no excuse. We've got to win this match and put the pressure on, because in the last 3 matches we've kind of gone to the players. They're there. You know, it's Chelsea or Manchester United or Arsenal. We don't expect a lot. And we've shut up shop in a lot of those matches. The Arsenal first half was brilliant from us. Didn't quite work for us after that. But if we can continue that defensive form, and that's something that Everton know how to do, so Everton might be a tough nut to crack. We can't score goals. We are struggling to defend to a degree. Once we let one in, we start to panic a little bit. And this is the real definition of a relegation 6-pointer. And I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to take a swig of my drink, and you'll notice something at the top of the screen, which might capitulate very quickly, and that is that we've had 66% of the ball in the first 7 minutes of this match. Is that going to continue? That's gone down to 60%. But in a world where we've had 30-odd% of possession, we've now gone down to 50. But again, that is far better than having 30% of possession. And it's an early corner for Everton, but we get it out. I was expecting, because Everton are good from set pieces, I was expecting that one to be a goal. Humphreys puts the ball forward to Connor Chaplin. Can Chaplin find anybody? He does find George Hurst, but that is a chance created. All come from the great pass out wide from Cameron Humphreys. That man is on the ball again, and Lindstrom, surely that is a red card for Jasper Lindstrom, and that is a horrible tackle. And all of a sudden, this game has been turned on a knife edge. Everton are down to 10 men. We have got to do something here. We're going to put Connor Chaplin and Hutchinson on attacking responsibilities. We've got to take advantage of this. We really have. Let's see what kind of format. So Everton have actually stuck with it. Everton are being brave in that. Is that 2 defensive midfielders they're playing? But surely that makes our job that much easier. And if we're going to score, well, I guess it's like us though against Manchester City. We shut up shop, and maybe we should have just stayed the way we were. We've had 55% of the ball. I think we're going to have a Premier League match where we have the most of the ball for the first time this season. I don't think we had the most possession against Southampton. And as we come up to half-time, 1 shot on target for each team. Pickford's going to hoof the ball out. Who's going to get to that? Calvert-Lewin gets it to it initially, but loses it. Hutchinson, I think he's coming off at half-time, you know. He's just not... And I don't like to pick on individuals, but Hutchinson comes in as a mainstay player for us this season. And again, he's just gone and gone, I don't want this ball. And if that turns into a goal, which it very nearly did, albeit denied by the post, he's not good enough for us. He's just not cutting the mustard. We're affording him way too much time and space in the area to get shots away. Pump fists. Keep going, they're a man down. And I'm going to say to the defenders, you weren't that bad, but you can still improve. I'll say the same to Mari Hutchinson, but not really. And who's the person we can bring on there? I mean, Liam Delap's not quite fit. We're going to revert to Wes Burns, I think, who's done a decent job in there all season. We're going to play Chaplin as a winger again. What can we do to... Again, I think drop off more is something that we shouldn't really do. Take the tempo down a little. It's a bit of a shame we haven't got a control possession tactic, because that would probably support us a little bit here in what we're trying to do in creating more chances. And even though Everton have had 10 men, they've still had more shots than us. Their XG is higher, and that's alarm bells ringing for us here. Maybe we ought to just creak down our mentality to cautious, because Sean Dyche is no fool. Even though Everton are down to 10 men, they could still spring a surprise here, and that's surely what it would be now. Any side with 10 men to go and get a victory at 0-0 would be a surprise, and I think I'm just going to bring it back to balance, just see and find our way in this game. Everton seem to be turning the screw a little bit here, and I feel like there's only so much time before there's a goal. And am I going to call this well? Of course I am. Iliman Ndiaye with the assist from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it's poor defending from us. And I do wonder whether that's having a defensive partnership of Axel Tuanzebe and Luke Wolfenden, who have only just started playing together. Cameron Burgess and Wolfenden had a good start to the season. But again, that being said, we still conceded 3 against Tottenham, so you could say it was a little bit different. We've got to do something different here, surely. And now George Hurst has been bought off injured. Another player. We've only got a thin squad. We haven't got a large squad at all. And Connor Chaplin's going to have to play up front. He's going to be an advanced forward. And on the left wing, we are going to play Cameron Humphreys because he's been quite encouraging there when he's played. We're going to put him just as a support there. And Jack Taylor, who played so well for us against Southampton, he's going to come in as a defensive midfielder. Calvin Phillips is a player we need help from now going forward. I don't want to change things too much, but I think passing to space. I don't think we necessarily need to distribute quickly. Regroup when we lost possession. Yeah. Get the keeper to support as well. I want the keeper to take some more risks. Give it 10 minutes and see if anything changes. Everton's starting to play with more caution, but that's not going to matter. Or is it? Because Jared Brathwaite's goal from that free kick could just be ruled out. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be ruled out, because Arsenal's third goal against us didn't get ruled out, and that's been given. And to be fair, Ndiaye was onside. Says a lot about us, doesn't it? We're down to 10 men. And we're not cutting the mustard. If you're not going to score a goal, the only result you're going to get any positivity with is a 0-0. I don't even see the point of changing things, because you could bring Liam Delap on, another player who's done nothing. Have I... hit early cross, so I want to take that off. Yeah. Have we got a chance to get back into it? Cameron Humphreys with the corner. And this could be a penalty. John Brooks has blown for the penalty. It's going to go to VAR. Jared Brathwaite, I always say Banthwaite. Jared Brathwaite has conceded it. And it's our first penalty of the season. So I don't know who's on penalty duty. So I would half guess it's going to be Connor Chaplin. Or maybe Sammy Schmodix. It is. It's Sammy Schmodix, our vice-captain. Can we get back into this tie against Everton at Pullman Road? This could be massive for our season if it goes in. And it's there. Sammy Schmodix with the goal. And I'm going to fire up the players to do more. Sammy Schmodix, that's his first goal for Ipswich. And just on Sammy Schmodix, don't know if this is the same in real life. Sammy Schmodix is on 50,000 a week. The next best player, the next best paid player, is on 18,000 a week. Something seems off there. I'm surprised the players haven't got brassed off at that. We've just give Luke Wolfenden a new contract because he's come knocking. He's on 20,000 a week. He wanted 30. And anyone will know me in real life or in FM will know I'm a shrewd operator. And we got him down from 30 to 20. But what can I say? Everton have just been too good for us today. Our defence has been poor. We've had more of the ball, so you can't even say that the defence have been under pressure for large spells of the game. Ben Johnson's tired. He's had a lot of game time recently, so he's going to come off. Last roll of the dice, I think, is Liam Delap up front and Marcus Harness on the left. But we might as well just go for it now. We're already losing 3-1. No one will say anything about goal difference at the end of the season if we get something out of this. It's frustrating because we've had some good signs. But this, a little bit like the West Ham game, a little bit like the Brentford game, is a sucker punch. And maybe that Southampton game might have been a dawn of false hope, in that Southampton just didn't turn up that day. Anyway, Harness into Delap. Wes Burns. Can he put us back in this? If we can reduce the arrears to 1, as Jack Taylor very nearly does for us, the supporters are leaving the stadium, which is disappointing, because if they start doing that and we lose the support from the fans, it's going to be a long season. Much higher line. Just try and do something. And if we go and concede again, then that does worry me. Couple of minutes to go. We've got 7 minutes added time. Forest are winning at the City Ground just to make our woes even worse. So Everton and Forest both out of sight and out of mind really now, unless we can do something in the last 3 minutes of this game. Harness with a ball into Wes Burns. Jordan Pickford is too good for that. I would say with the Everton are quite a disciplined side, but with their result last weekend in the Premier League against Bournemouth, maybe we might say different to that. Phillips puts a ball in, but Tarkowski clears the danger. We are attacking and putting pressure on Everton, and hopefully that will lead to only one thing. Donasian into the box for Delap. We're getting it in there, but Everton are clearing it every time. West Ham have equalised at the City Ground, and Jack Taylor. That is an absolutely tremendous goal. Wow. A comeback could be on the cards, and it just said at the bottom, the fans might have left early. Everton, a team that, against Bournemouth in real life, were 2 goals up. Bournemouth went and scored 3 in the last 9 minutes to go and win. What a goal this is from Jack Taylor. Jordan Pickford is getting absolutely nowhere near that. But unfortunately, I think it is going to be too little too late for us. We're going to try absolutely everything we can. We're just going to play a 4-1-4-1. Or a 4-4-1-5, as the game seems to suggest here. It very rarely works, this, because by the time you've implemented it, nothing comes of it. But if it gets us a point and means that Everton stay within our grasp, I don't care how long it takes for us to do this. Yeah. Okay, well, we've got a minute left here. I don't think anything's going to change in the final result, and it doesn't. But we reduce the arrears to 1. Can we take any positives out of this match? I think it's the case that Jack Taylor has to be chosen for us, because he's probably going to be our leading goal scorer the way we're going. Sammy Schmodik's not scoring from open play, so Jack Taylor was the only player to score from open play. Jack Henry Philip Taylor rolls off the tongue. Muric had a poor game. Wolfenden greeted his new contract with a poor game. I'm going to lay into the players here. I'm going to say that I'm far from pleased with that result. I'm going to send the assistant to this, and I think a fan going on about Sam Morsey. He's not performed for us. Chaplin's going to score next match. If we don't need use of new formation, fortunately, Palace. See, we're being saved by draws. Palace have drawn. West Ham have drawn against Forest. To be fair, Forest had 10 men, so they did well to keep a draw against West Ham and very nearly won that match. Look at that from Southampton. 1-0 up. Milner with a goal in the 91st minute. Mitomo in the 93rd minute. And questions have got to be asked of us now. Conceded 3. Yes, we've scored 2, but a 96th minute goal and a goal from a penalty. So really, not doing anything of note. And the next game being Leicester. We lose there, and it starts to become a big panic. We're not experimenting. We tried to experiment and it didn't work. George Hurst is out for 3 or 4 weeks. We've got, that's a spoiler for one of our trial players if you're watching intently. Burgess is still out. He's out for a couple of weeks. Broadhead's out. Hurst is going to be out for a couple of weeks. Leif Davis might well be back for our next game, so that might help us. Forest are interested in Leif Davis. I'll tell you what, if he goes for 20 million in the transfer window, we could bring somebody in for that, or a couple of players. Yeah, we've slammed the team. No surprise. Marcus Harness thought we were too harsh. Well, I'll go and deal with him off camera. We've got an international break to come now. So it's a fortnight before our game at Liverpool. And then we go and play against Leicester. Back at Portman Road. And that one was quite a long one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it here for today. Just make this a 1-game episode, because it's been quite a long one anyway. I don't want to risk it becoming too long. But what I'll do, rather than leaving it the normal 3 days between episodes, I'm going to come back tomorrow, which will be Tuesday at 6 PM, to bring you the Leicester game. I'll also bring some highlights from the Liverpool game to start off the episode, and then we'll go and play Leicester in what has now become an absolutely huge fixture for us. Let's just see, because Wolves have got a game in hand. In fact, Wolves have got to play Leicester, so I'll go off camera now. I'm not going to leave that on a cliffhanger. Let's see what the table's going to look like at the end of the weekend for our game against Leicester in a couple of weeks' time. Well, that's going to be a massive blow for us. You can't see the full result. I'll reveal that to you now. Leicester didn't score. Wolves did. So Wolves have beaten Leicester by 1-0. I guess that's encouraging for our game against Leicester, even though they did create a fair amount. 2 shots on target. They'd probably score against us with that. But Wolves have beaten Leicester, which means, in the Premiership, that we are now 5 points adrift at the bottom. Imagine if we'd got well, I guess even if we'd have got a point against Everton, would it have really mattered? But we come out of the excuses stage now in that we're playing the big teams. All right, we've got to go to Anfield and play Arne Slot's Liverpool up next in a fortnight's time. But there are some massive games coming up. We've got to go play Leicester. That's a must-win. I think that's... We're not going to get anything out of Liverpool. So if we end up with 4 points after 14 games, say that for argument's sake that all of the teams above us get a win out of the next 2, we're 8 points adrift, and all of a sudden we're praying for a game against Bournemouth to change our fortunes, and that doesn't come until the 23rd of December. We knew it was going to be a challenge this season, but we were starting to pull in the right direction. Sure, we've got the highest injuries, the joint most injuries in the Premier League. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for Leicester and Liverpool, but if those don't go well, I think the only lever we can pull, and it's a lever that the club certainly can pull with the balance that they've got if they want to stay in the Premier League. If they don't want to do what they did last time, alright, they stayed in the league for 2 seasons, but if they don't want a quick exit from the Premier League back to the Championship, we are going to need financial backing to get players who know the Premier League, know how to get the ball in the back of the net, and equally can defend as well. And that's quite harsh on some of our players, but it seems like some of our players haven't made the step up. Looking at average ratings, I know this is going on a bit, but Amari Hutchinson, one of the lowest. Liam Delap. Sam Morsey, our captain, a player that is a leader, a born leader in this team, and he's not performed. Our best performers have been Jack Taylor, who's only played twice and come off the bench 9 times. Leif Davis, who's been injured. Marcus Harness. A lot of these players, not the players that we would expect to do well. Even Calvin Phillips, who was a step above, an average rated of a 6.6. Not that special. Connor Chaplin, a player who tore up the Championship for me. He's not got off to a good start in the Premiership. Sammy Schmodix, 6.58. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. It's a challenge. And it's one that, despite my moans and groans, I'm still incredibly enjoying. But if we don't start to do something quick, this dream, as I said before, could turn into a nightmare. And this video shows goals change games. And we need to score goals to stay up. If we're going to concede 3, we haven't got a cat in hell's chance anyway. But we never looked like scoring against Everton there. That was a lovely goal from Jack Taylor, but in the 96th minute. And then we got afforded a fluke in the box with a penalty, which Sammy Schmodix put away well. But have we got the quality? Do we need to spend the money in January? Or is it gone by then? January's a write-off, isn't it? Man City, Tottenham, Brighton away. But I'll tell you something, those 4 games in Feb are massive. Forest, Brentford, West Ham, Southampton. And then we've got to go and play Man United, Chelsea and Arsenal. So just think from a logic perspective, we've got to go and play the Big 6 at least once again. Not going to get anything out of those. So basically we're 18 points, 18 games, 4 points. We've got to get 36 points from 20 games. And that realistically is 10 wins and 6 draws. I'm going to shut up now because I'm going to make myself even more depressed. With an impossibility to stay up. But Brentford did it. Brighton did it. Clubs that have got established in this league. Brentford probably being one of the biggest shocks of those. But we're being joined down there by Bournemouth, another side who haven't got financial backing. The teams that went down are all doing well. Burnley in the promotion hunt. Luton in the promotion hunt. Who's the other one that went down? Sheffield United not doing so well. Do we go and get somebody from one of those clubs? Who knows where the back of the net is? I can't think of any examples because they went down without a trace. Do we go Nick Wout Weghorst? Who knows? Nothing will happen between now and then when we come back, but I'll be back this time tomorrow for our journey to Anfield against Arne Slot and a home game at Pullman Road against Leicester. That is going to be paramount for us to get something, not even something, a win out of that game. Thank you for your company today. Shorter than in terms of playing 2 games than I thought, but I think in terms of the story, it's fitting to end this episode here before the next one. So if you have enjoyed, leave a like down below. Comment your thoughts. Where do we need to improve? Just before we do end, this is the first time I'm recording a video since the first video went out. I recorded all 3 videos for this week last weekend, and the response has been great. Considering I haven't uploaded on this gaming channel for a long time, your support has been brilliant. So thank you for that, and I hope that does continue. That will motivate me massively to make this series. But for now, and until the next time, sayonara.